Hi everybody, this is the demonstration video is looking at preparing for drilling the cylinder housings. So what we have to do here is the CNC will round the back of it and drill the hole on top. And what each student has to do is to drill a hole here to a set depth using a 7.5, 7.8 drill bit and then reaming that hole with a diameter 8. The depth of the hole with a 7.5, 7.8 drill bit, either one will do from the store. Today I'm going to use a 7.8. I'm going to drill that hole 36.25mm deep from the tip of the drill bit, and then I'm finally going to ream that hole 34mm deep. I've used some red tape here to signify the depth of that hole. That's 34mm deep. And that's the correct depth to stop it, to prevent you drilling too deep and into the hole on top here for the CNC. So to start off, you get your material from the store. These are 3 parts. You only need to face off one side. There is no need to bring the material down to length. Just face off on one side. So take your piece, refer to the other videos for setting your tool height on center and putting your part into the chuck. And if you haven't used this lathe before for the first time, please watch the lathe on demonstrating how to use the Emco. So the piece is slightly over on the overhang, the tool height set on center, and for facing off the part, we're going in the A2 range, which is 310 to 1070. I'm going to speed it at about 800 RPM. So I'm pulling down on the chuck, firing on the machine, and adjusting my speed up accordingly. I'm going to face off the part for the first time, touching on the material and facing across the piece for the first time. Use automatic feed, face off the piece. You're going to zero your Z, zero and enter, and you're just going to skim across the piece about 0.3 of a cut, and you're facing across the material. To apply coolant on, you turn on your lever, and the location of the lever is back here underneath the machine without cutting on the material. So always ensure that the coolant is going onto the tool and not onto the work in the drilling process. So each part has to be faced off, and when the facing off is done, we're going to do the drilling process. We can stop the automatic feed, stop the machine, and we have it faced off. We're left with no pip. That's what we want to see before we start drilling. So before you go any further, ensure you've got a good surface finish on your part. Now the next process is you want to center drill the hole. So to center drill the hole, take your center drill bit, pop it into its chuck, tighten it up, and to ensure that the chuck is installed properly, make sure that it's wound forward and securely in place. Now we're going to drill in to create a pilot hole for the 7.8 drill bit. So we can remove the tool position out of its way, open, this is the lock, and you're going to push forward. So into position for the hole, apply on the lock, apply the coolant onto the tool, firing on the machine, apply on the lock, and you're drilling forward to create a pilot hole right into create that cone shape center drill bit. Stop in your machine, and now you're going to replace out the center drill bit with a 7.8 drill bit. Pop in your 7.8, and now we drill to a set depth. So check your drawings, your depth, the tip of this drill bit is 36.25mm in depth. So to do that, push forward, pause, look at me. So to drill to a set depth, because we've created this pilot hole, it's difficult then to get exactly in position where the tip of the drill bit is. So we put a plate in place over the face of the part, push the drill bit up against it, and now we know if we measure the thickness of the plate, and that measures 1.5mm in thickness. Then we know then that we can zero our tailstock. And when the tailstock has been zeroed, the tip is touching the plate. I remove out the plate. Back to my zero. I can remove out the thickness of the plate in the tailstock by applying in 1.5, which puts the drill bit right over the edge of the hole. And then by holding the handle, I can readjust the dial back to 0 to drill accordingly. So then powering on guard, put the coolant in position, onto the drill bit, not onto the work. Powering on the lathe, pulling the lever out and down, and you're drilling in here 36.25. And one turn of the wheel is 3 mil, so it's 12 times around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is 30 millimeters. Every revolution is 3, 33, 36, and the 0.25 split the difference between the two gauges. That's 36.25, and then you're coming back out of that hole again at the correct depth. So you follow that method, it'll work out just perfectly. So now, we need to replace out the chuck completely. Take off your lock, remove the chuck from the machine, and now you're going to get from the store a diameter 8 H7 reamer, and you're drilling into a depth, the edge of that tape there, is about 34 millimeters. So the reamer will push the material forward. Unlike a drill bit, the material escapes out of the hole. With a reamer, it's pushing the material down into the hole. And you can't drill the same depth because you look at the two drill bits, you can clearly see there's a point on top where there's a flat section on the reamer. So we're going to drill 34 millimeters with the reamer, and then with the drill bit we drill deeper than that, checking our formula, and we allowed for the tip length. So install the reamer, wind forward, push in the tool, it slots into position, and again we're going to use our plate to secure our position, zero our tailstock, remove out the plate, allow off our 1.5 millimeters. That puts the drill bit right over the edge of the hole. Then we can recalibrate, re-zero our tailstock to 0 with the reamer over the edge of the hole, and you're drilling 34 millimeters deep. So every revolution of the tailstock on the Emco is 3 millimeters, whereas the M300 Colchester lathes are 2.5 millimeters. But on the Emcos here, one revolution of the tailstock is 3 millimeters. So powering on again, and you're only removing 0.2 millimeters off, so it's quite a fast speed range. So you're counting it in, the lock on, 1 turn, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is 30, 31, 32 and a half, 33, 33 and a half, 34 mil deep exactly, and we're coming back out again. So that's the depth of the hole done. And that's exactly what we need to do for that part. And the remaining parts now are done on the CNC. So you repeat that process for all 3 components. So you do that for all 3. So you need to face off the remaining 2 parts, and when you have all 3 parts with the holes drilled, then we'll move on to the CNC.